All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Market Close. It is Wednesday, September 25th, 3:45 p.m. Folks, we had a lot to discuss, but right before I went live, like literally 2 minutes ago, the CTO of OpenAI has stepped down. The CTO of OpenAI has decided she is leaving the company. That is crazy. I'm on my YouTube right now, and it's not even live. This is the StreamYard delay. See, I'm on YouTube on this screen, and I can tell it's not even live. I'm telling you guys, there's a StreamYard delay. It's not because of me. See, someone said late in the chat. It's not me. It's StreamYard. This is kind of crazy, guys. This is absolutely crazy in terms of what we got going on. All right, now we're live. But here, so she's gone. She's out. She's out. See, all you guys saying late. Bro, I'm telling you, I was not late. I've been speaking for the past 30 seconds. It was StreamYard. It was not me. Like it actually was not me. Like rewind, go to the front. I say 3:45 p.m. I'm on time. But anyway, she's gone. OpenAI CTO is gone. This happened 2 seconds ago, right before I went live. Now, the reasoning behind why she's gone, let's pull that up right here. It has to do with her spending time with family. That's what it has to do. So she says, I'm stepping away because I want to create the time and space to do my own exploration. For now, my primary focus is doing everything in my power to ensure a smooth transition, maintain the momentum we built. She says, our work has been made cutting-edge AI research intuitive and accessible. My 6.5 years with OpenAI team has been an extraordinary privilege. While I'll express my gratitude to many individuals in the coming days, I want to start by thanking Sam and Greg for their trust in me to lead the technical organization. Now, here's the question. Thomas says she saw the Connect event and wants to switch. The Meta Connect event. Thank you for guys. Thank you for everyone who joined the stream an hour ago. Incredible event. We'll talk about that, but it was an absolutely amazing event. Either she's BSing and says she wants to spend more time with her family, which, I mean, I don't want to say I don't believe her, because who am I to say I don't believe her? But dude, this is a company that's probably going to $1 trillion, and she's leaving. I mean, there's not many opportunities in life where you get to be the CTO of a company that's going to $1 trillion, that's being valued at 150 billion. Jensen and Tim Cook and Satya Nadella are begging you to take their money, and you leave. I mean, maybe the argument's family, but maybe the argument is also that, hey, the head of ML left the other day. Greg left 2 months ago, started a new company called SSI, a Super Safe Intelligence. Like, everyone's leaving Sam Altman. And you got to at least be a little skeptical when you see this stuff. Like, there's no way anyone can tell me, hey, it's not something that raises an eyebrow here. So that's the breaking news. As soon as we go live, OpenAI CTO has officially decided to leave the company. We'll see the ramifications on that soon. Palantir, look at that into DeBell, 37.09 on the day, up 0.5%, still maintaining 37. Remember, Palantir lost, Peter Thiel sold 7 million shares yesterday. So Palantir lost like 3% yesterday off that sell. Market seems to not care. And this is kind of what we thought would happen over the past couple of days is, hey, if insiders can sell and the market has the liquidity to deal with that sell, Peter Thiel sold about 37.94. Then it's not that big of a deal. Meta right here at 570, pumped to 576 at one point at the top of the event when they showed off Jensen using their new Meta Orion holographic glasses. We'll talk more about that later. But 570 right now, coming back to life, up still 1.36% on the day. Robinhood 2239, down about 1.69%. S&P down about 1/3%. Makes sense. S&P has pumped a lot over the past week and a half, so taking a little bit of a break. Nvda still great day, got to 124.93, couldn't get above 125 at 894,000 shares, waiting about $111 million. So there was a bit of resistance right there at 123 or 125, still up 2.13% on the day at 123.4. And then you got the star of the day, Rocket Lab, 865, up 14%. I'll talk about my thoughts on Micron in a second, but I saw one video. Shout out to my boy Gene, who just sent me this video. This is all the DD I need to start getting excited about building a position in Rocket Lab. It's a 7-second video. I mean, quite literally, this is all of the DD I needed to be like, you know what? It's time to get into Rocket Lab. Here's the video. Here's the video.
One of the cool things I love is when I'm having a real bad day, I just go down and stroke the rocket. Not inappropriately. It certainly sounds it. One of the cool things.
I mean, dude, that's enough for me. Like, that's really, like, that's enough. I mean, I'm like, I'm in. I like this guy. I like this guy. You know, I'm a founder-oriented guy. I like the founder. That's all I needed, bro. I mean, if I saw that video when the stock was at 4, maybe I would have dumped some money into it at that point. But in all seriousness, I do think this is really exciting. Congrats to everyone in Rocket Lab. Shout out to my boy Vince, who posted how much he's up today. It's about $250,000. He has 60. We were trying to figure out how many shares he has. 65,000 shares. So there's his P&L. Up 257,000, 65,000 shares. Cost base is at 450. This is the power of consolidation. I mean, this is really what happens when you go heavy on a position. This is, what I did this year with Palantir and Hood, which is quite frankly why I didn't have the liquidity to go into something like Rocket Lab. Like every dollar I've had has been pretty much invested in those two positions. And so sometimes you got to solidify and then diversify after the solidification hopefully goes well. But shout out to Vince, 250 grand up on Rocket Lab. Really nice performance. I hope after hours, they do not announce that they did an at the market offering. I really hope they don't do that. I don't even know if they filed for a shelf offering a while ago. I imagine they did. Maybe I'm wrong, but I really don't know. If they dilute shareholders here, it's probably good for the company. I mean, at 867, maybe they think this is a great time to raise some capital. Market cap of 4.3 billion extends their runway. But it would be kind of annoying to see that after a really big pump. So we'll see after hours if they do any of that. They diluted a couple months ago, so I don't think, or they diluted December 2023, October. So I don't think they need to dilute. But if they did, it would be a little annoying. But regardless, up 14% on the day, maybe even with the dilution, it doesn't matter because the street's able to absorb it. And there you go, the stock right here at 864 right now on the day. That would maybe save your covered calls, correct? That might save your covered calls. Dell right here at 120. All right, so let's get into Micron. That's the big earnings of the day. Dell right here, wow, up 2.44%. So let's go to the semis. Micron's going to be a big one. All the semis are green except Marvell, TSM. That was up yesterday, so that's fine. Broadcom's basically flat. On is down 2%. SMCI down about 1%. AMD's up 3%. Nvidia's up 2%. Intel, great day on Intel, almost hit 2420. It was at 2406, 2350 right now, up 3% on the day. All right, so Micron in the past couple of days is up about 5%. I did a little bit of research on Micron. Again, don't know the company too well, but they are an important company when it comes to memory and storage solutions in the semiconductor space. So one of the interesting things about Micron is that obviously it's a cyclical company, like a lot of the semiconductor stocks, but Micron uniquely is cyclical because of the nature of how memory storage works and how they're not, it's in demand, but it's not as in demand as GPUs. I mean, there's not constant need for Micron as it is for Nvidia because it requires training better models. That's why Micron's CEO said, hey, we're sold out till 2025. I thought that was super bullish on the last call, and I thought the stock would pump on that. The stock fell 40%. Right here was at 153. Now we're at 95. So about 35, 40%, primarily based on the idea that the street felt, okay, well, if you're booked all the way till 2025, then, you kind of did your job. We're not buying any more future growth. We don't know how much more you're going to grow. And we don't know if the street, if the broader market has commoditized memory storage inside of GPUs enough for us to care about you guys continuing to grow or think you guys have a chance to continue to grow. I think that's a little bit of a silly reason to tank it that aggressively, but I understand given it was up 77% year to date at the time. Now it's up 15% year to date. So obviously it's taken a bit of a haircut. Any good news, I think, on this earnings is potentially good enough to pump it. If it tanks on this earnings, let's do the poll in the chat, pump or dump. If it tanks on this earnings, that's not going to be good. That's not going to be good. You don't want to see an important company like this. Not the most important company in the semi space. There are competitors to them, but it's still one that matters. You don't want to see a dump on a good earnings. Maybe the street's, going to get scared for Q3 for all the semiconductor names. So Micron right here up 1.48%. The street is expecting from Micron $7.63 billion of revenue, which I think is up 70% year over year, if I'm not wrong. And then EPS of 1.13. Remember, they grew 80% last quarter. So they tanked 40% after growing 80% and saying they're booked until 2025. It was, I had some friends who had calls on Micron, and let's just say they were pretty pissed. I mean, no one expected them to tank that badly. But Street wants $1.13 of profits, 6.3 of revenue. And we'll see if they end up doing that. Last time they beat revenue by 2.11%, $6.81 billion. They beat EPS by 21% with 62 cents. So quarter over quarter, this would be a double on EPS, which is not bad. And even revenue, this is close to 20% quarter over quarter on revenue. Let me do that exact math right here. That would be, no, about 14%. So 14% quarter over quarter on revenue, which would not be the worst thing in the world either for Micron. So we will see in about 5 minutes when that comes out. Jose will join at 4:15. We'll get his thoughts on this and Nvidia and the broader semi sector. But in about 5 minutes, that'll be kind of the last major earnings. Then we have Costco on Thursday, so tomorrow, and then Accenture in the morning. But Costco is going to be, I think, the official thing that, I mean, what do we have the week after? Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, we have Nike on October 1st, Carnival on September 30th for the cruise lines. After that, we kind of take a break until, wow, dude. I mean, we take a break until October 11th, and then we got the banks. It's literally like a week of a break, and then we got the banks. So earnings continues basically in the next week after we have Costco, and then we get back into Q3. So the OpenAI news, that's still kind of crazy. For those that are just joining, OpenAI CTO officially has left. And this was the note she put out. After much reflection, I've made the difficult decision to leave with OpenAI. I literally saw this right before I went live for the market close. And this one, dude, she's the one in all the videos. She's the one like doing all the demos. Like they put her everywhere. She's the one who had the really weird Wall Street Journal interview where she was like crying or something. Like she's the one who they're like, hey, are you scraping YouTube? And she's like, maybe. It's like she's the one who's been publicly out there for OpenAI. You could argue even more than Sam Altman. And she's gone, which is kind of crazy. Are you streaming Carnival earnings? That's probably early in the morning, right? I don't know if I'll be able to stream the call, but I'll definitely, we'll definitely talk about the results. I might not be able to stream the call itself. But yeah, we will definitely go through Carnival, on Monday when it comes out. Dude, you guys are talking about she's hot. Forget that she's hot. She left OpenAI. Like, can we think with our minds rather than our rockets for a moment, okay? I'm sorry for the women in this chat if that was cringe, but like, forget what you think about her physically. The CTO of Open freaking AI just left. This is a big deal, bro. This is crazy. And where is she actually going to spend time with her family? Or is she going to Palantir? Is she going to Meta? Is she going to Anthropics? Does she have beef with Sam Altman? Like, we need to know the real story. There is no part of me that believes she's leaving to just like enjoy her life, dude. Get out of here. When you're staring at literally tens of billions, her equity stake, if OpenAI goes to $1 trillion, is tens of billions. People don't throw that away that easily. People do not throw that away that easily. That is very difficult to throw away. That's a once in a lifetime opportunity. I mean, I didn't even know who, like, what is her background? OpenAI, I didn't even know about her before OpenAI. Mira Murati. Let's go to her LinkedIn. Does she have a LinkedIn? What did she do before this? She's not even on LinkedIn. Does anyone know who she was? Like, who is this person? Mira Murati. Like, how does she become the CTO of OpenAI? That's a big deal, bro. It's one of the leading AI companies. So we'll see what happens there, but I think there's going to be a lot of things going on. Bayray says she could have left for ethical reasons. That's what I think is happening, given all the other people that left OpenAI. Again, the co-founder of OpenAI, Greg, I think his last name is Brockman. He left to, Ilya. One of those guys left. I think it was Ilya who left. I think Greg is still there. Ilya left to start a company called Super Safe Intelligence. Like, who the hell leaves what could be $1 trillion company to start another AI company that's based upon safe intelligence? Like, did you not believe OpenAI was safe enough? It is just, there's a lot of questions that I think are unanswered when it comes down to this. And then Palantir having a great day right at the close, 37.11. Again, the street does not care that Karp sold 9 million shares and Thiel sold 7 million shares. I mean, the street right here is telling you we do not care. We are still going to buy this stock. Whether it's retail, the street, whoever's buying it does not care about the insider selling, which means there's more than enough liquidity for the insiders to take profits here. So 37.11 on Palantir as we end out the day. We got about 20 seconds left, and then all eyes are on Micron. And we'll see what ends up happening with Micron. Bro, we don't want to see the Palantir chart show the CTO. Goodness gracious, dude. You guys, first the Zucks podcaster, now this. It's like, dude, this is the CTO of OpenAI. What time is Micron? It should be literally in like 5 seconds. Here we go. 4 p.m. Wednesday, September 25th. The stock market is now closed. All right, markets closed. Palantir 37.12. Tesla on the day ends at 257. Not bad. Tesla adds another 10 billion to its market cap. Not bad. Not bad at all. 821 billion right now, 257. 65% of you say pump and 35% of you say dump on Micron. So let's go to Micron. I think the earnings should be out pretty soon. I don't think this is one that does it at like 4:15 or 4:10. I'm pretty sure it happens at 4 p.m. We're seeing a little bit of movement after hours. Let me see if I can pull up their website. And then I think in a couple minutes or maybe a couple seconds, we should get the answers for Micron and see what happens. Does anyone own the stock? Also put in the chat if you own the stock. Again, the stock is down from 150 to 95. So I think there's a lot more people that are bullish on it because they think the worst has already happened. But now we're going to have to see. Oh, we're green. We're green. We're green. We're green. We're green. So far, we're green, up 4%. Look at that. 4%, $100 already. 5%, 5.6%, 6.2%, 6.3, 6.7, 6.4, 5.7, 6.9, 7.8. 7.8, 6.3, 6.4, recovering a little bit, going to the downside now, 7.9, 103, 103.74, 8.26% on Micron, 103.6, 8.2% on Micron. Let's see if it holds and it doesn't come crashing back down. We got to see if it seems like the initial numbers were good enough for the Bloomberg terminal people that got the results and immediately started buying. 7.7%, 103.46 on Micron earnings. RF Andy says he bought 105 YOLOs. Well, oh, wow, look at that. As you say that, it blasts above 105. Look at that, 9.2% on Micron. I mean, that's not too bad. That is nice to see. And again, even if you don't have a position, if you're bullish on the market, you want to see stocks do well as we get into Q3, just in general, for the market to have more breadth as it expand. All right, I think we have the numbers. 9.1%. Let me see if I can get the exact numbers. Then we'll go to CNBC and see what they're saying. Shout out to the Micron shareholders. Congrats if you got this. Not bad at all. Where's Nvda after? So Micron's up 10%. Nvda, look at that. Nvidia's up almost 0.5%. Just based on that. Let's go to all the semis. Micron officially up 10%. AMD is up 0.5%. Intel's flat. Broadcom up 0.5%. Qualcomm kind of flat. All the semis are pumping. Dell's up almost 1% on this. Micron 11%. Goodness gracious. Talk about a pump, dude. And look, I don't know much about Micron. My only thesis for I would pump is that it's down 40% from the last earnings. So any bit of good news could send it higher. Let's try to see if we can get these numbers and see what the numbers look like. Fourth quarter results, EPS 118. Estimate was 112, so that's up by 6 cents. Adjusted gross margins 36.5 versus 34.7. That's good. Operating income margin 22.5% versus 21%. Estimate cash flow from operations 3.41 billion versus 3.6. So cash flow is a little bit of a miss. We need to see revenue. I think revenue is 7.75 versus 7.63. That's a beat on revenue. That's a beat on revenue. There you go. There you freaking go. When it comes to Micron. All right, so let's get the results on Micron. Do we have these results? Let me see. I think we have the results. Micron CEO will be on a little bit. Okay, let's see. Let me pull this up. I think we've got it here. Decent numbers by Micron, man. Decent numbers. Shout out to June. She has a 63 cost basis on Micron. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Micron forecast significantly improved profitability in fiscal year 2025. So it seems like the operating margin is what the street likes right here.
Guys, good to see you, Bob. We're still above those mid-July levels on the S&P, but just barely. So how do
semiconductor sector, $5 billion.
Modi has the numbers. Seema.
John, Q4 numbers in $1.18 adjusted versus Wall Street estimate of $1.13. So it's a beat for Micron in the fourth quarter. Sales also topping expectations at $7.75 billion. Analysts were looking for $7.6 billion. We have comments from CEO Sanjay Mehrotra. Micron delivering 93% year-over-year revenue growth in fiscal Q4. Robust AI demand drove a strong ramp of our data center DRAM products and our industry-leading high bandwidth memory. He goes on to talk about the opportunity in NAND revenue, and we are watching shares up over 10%. Of course, John, we've been talking about how Micron Micron has been an underperformer in the semiconductor sector, down about 40% from its June high, and expectations were on the lower side. So here we have Micron beating on the fourth quarter. We'll get you more details as they come in.
Yeah, I was hearing some doubts about this quarter. They seem to have done well on these initial numbers. Tim Modi, thank you. Micron CEO is going to break down these results tomorrow, 9 a.m. on Squawk on the Street. Adam Christofouli, don't know if you want to reflect on Micron here.
Okay, so we'll go back to that in a second. But yeah, these are pretty amazing numbers. I think what the street really likes is this operating margins expanding into 2025. So even if like it's not a major beat on the top and the bottom, which it is a decent beat, even if it's not crazy, they're becoming more profitable, which is what the street likes, and they're proving that, you know, they may be cyclical, but it's not like they're not pulling up results that matter for shareholders. 104.5 up 9.2%. They have the call to go through, and as long as they say good things in the call, maybe this gets even more exciting. But 9%, dude. Tomorrow's a Thursday. Nvidia's up this week. I mean, you got semis at least trending in the right direction. Taiwan semi right here up about 0.5% after hours as well. AMD's up 0.73. SMCI's up 0.5%. I mean, tomorrow could be a really nice day for Micron if this continues. Shout out to Bay Ray. He had some call options on Micron. He sold this morning, but he's up 60%. Sometimes it happens. If he held, he might have been up like, what, 200-300% or something. Sometimes you just don't know, dude. I mean, it would be a totally different reaction if you were up 60% in the morning, you didn't take profits, and then Micron dumped to like 80. You know, it's some of those. Sometimes you got to let your conviction ride. Other times you got to take some early profits, and you kind of just can't feel bad. You know, it's at the end of the day, making money 60% on your money in 2 days is most people in the world do not know how to do that. Okay, like that's just not an easy thing to do. So Palantir going down a little bit after hours at 37.04, but for anyone who holds Micron, had options on Micron, congrats. Because those are doing pretty well. By the way, guys, I realized I was up 200% on Rocket Lab today because I bought a spread like on Monday that I forgot I had. And I looked at it today. It was a 10, 12, 20, 27 spread. And I looked at it. I was like, why am I up 200%? What is this? And I was like, oh, Rocket Lab. It's a rocket. I should have bought a ton of them when it was 44 cents. Today it was worth $1.60. There's no way I couldn't even sell it because it's for 2027. So there is no liquidity on this. But yeah, maybe Rocket Lab goes to the moon and that one spread is up like 10x over the next 3 years. So we're just going to leave that there. But yeah, congrats on the Micron numbers. Let's get some more updates on that. Jose will be joining in about 5 minutes, and we'll get his perspective on Micron as well and the semis, and we'll keep going from there.
Versus the expectations, or also talk about just sort of how the equal weight S&P is not doing equally well to the S&P overall.
Yeah, so there definitely were some concerns around Micron, especially on the guidance front. So it looks like they exceeded what was a relatively low bar compared to other areas of tech. And I think the numbers, I'll have to go through the details, but the numbers speak to the secular demand trends that are still in place for a lot of these AI-levered companies. We saw it a couple weeks ago with Oracle, and now with Micron. And you have seen tech reassert itself, especially today, a little bit on the leadership front, and this should certainly help that momentum continue. And I think for the broader market, valuations are very expensive, certainly not appealing, but you do have these powerful macro forces, one of which is healthy corporate performance. You also have easing occurring globally. So you have the Fed, and now you have China. The news out of China Monday night is going to be important. Also, disinflation and then relatively resilient growth. And all those forces are going to continue to act, place upward pressure on the market, even though valuations are an obstacle.
The rate cuts by the Fed and obviously China liquidity, again, it's not like, oh my God, Micron's going to go up because of this, but it's like, hey, the economic environment is simply becoming a better environment to do business in, and that is going to help any company that is being able to put up those results. So not bad at all for Micron right here, still holding 10%. I mean, it's holding it. It's not really giving it up too quickly. That was a quick rocket ship right after like at 4 p.m. and 30 seconds. I mean, within the market closing bell, it immediately just took off. So those numbers were numbers that the street really, really did like. They don't have the official thing pulled on their, do they have this on their website? I don't think they've updated their website yet, but when they update their website, we'll go deeper into looking. Yeah, this is still from June, so they haven't fully pull it up yet. We'll go through those slides in a bit, but Micron not doing too bad. So Meta, before Jose comes in 5 minutes, let me quickly talk about Meta. I did an entire stream on Meta. It's on the channel. You guys can watch it if you want to get my deeper thoughts. But for those that missed the Meta event today, it was a hell of an event. Zucks showed how to launch a product, and Zucks showed that he is coming for the glasses market. Holographic glasses is what they introduced. It is a prototype. It's not an official set of glasses that's out in the market yet. It's called Orion. And they put a hype video together with a lot of celebrities, Jensen Huang being one of them. And as soon as the video started playing, the stock hit $575. The idea behind these glasses is that you can connect with people in real time. So kind of think of AR inside of the real world without having this massive goggles that you have to wear like a Vision Pro. We don't know what the battery life on this is. There's a lot of different questions here, but the idea is glasses you can wear every day. They're more complex than the Ray-Ban glasses, which have LLMs hooked up to them that you can talk and translate text. These are holographic, right? So you can literally see other people, other holograms of people in your face. And I imagine they're working to upgrade this in a very sophisticated way over the next coming years, but this was exciting, and the street got excited about this. On top of that, they also introduced Llama 3.2, and they introduced Quest 3S starting at $299, which begs the question, how in the world could Meta reduce the price of their latest Quest model by $200 and Apple still charges $3,500 for it? I mean, it's just one of those things where it really, there's no way to sidestep this issue. Apple cannot justify a more than 10x increase in the price for a product that you need to have the battery in your pocket to be able to wear. And so it's one of those things where Zucks is putting on a masterclass right now on this segment of the market. A lot of the people that loved Apple against Meta in this glasses market said Apple has a cult following and a cult brand. Yeah, but the cult following and cult brand at one point is not going to pay absurd amounts of money for something where they don't really see the full use case in, even if it's a cult brand. So you can't take advantage of your cult following if the product is not that good. He also said Meta AI is at 500 million monthly active users, and they haven't even launched in the largest countries, basically saying, hey, when we start launching in much broader geographies, we're going to get to 1 billion people using Meta AI products. Makes sense. They have almost 4 billion people using their other set of products. And so I would imagine that continues to go forward. Here's what Zucks had for lunch today. I found this because it made sense to post, given that Zucks have this for lunch. It's a picture of an apple for those that are just listening. And I think he had a nice apple for lunch. I mean, it's pretty obvious that he had an apple for lunch. Main catalyst left for the year. Election advertising should be a tailwind for Q3 and Q4. Release some new glasses before the holidays. It'll be live October 15th. And then the new Llama model being open source. They show a lot of different things creators can do. You can dub your videos in all these different languages. There's a lot of features to create more engagement. I would imagine that Zucks is able to really show some more momentum. The final thing I'll say is when he walked out on stage, there was no script. He made plenty of mistakes when he was speaking, but he felt real. He felt natural. And in a world where really for the past decade, people thought that Zucks was a robot, he felt like he wasn't a robot and he felt like you could relate to him. So I think his entire brand image as well has changed in the context of Meta as well. And of, Mark Zuckerberg as a full-on leader. You need to admit Meta VR will kill it. Well, I'm still not fully sold on VR and AR as a consumer-facing product. It's just something I've never fully believed in. I think there are some enterprise applications for it, but I'll be happy to be wrong. I mean, I really, if tens of millions of people, if every day, 50% of the chat says that they use their VR headset on a daily basis, I will get more bullish on it. So far, I'm just not seeing that happen. And that's just because the use cases aren't there. Maybe it takes a few years and the form factor of the headset to really get to the point where it's usable every day. And I think that can happen. It just might take some time. And so when that does happen, it's either Zucks or Apple that's going to win that game. And so far, it looks like that's going to be Zuckerberg. All right, let's bring on Jose to the channel, get his thoughts on Micron's earnings and also what's going on in the world of Nvidia. Jose, what's up?
Hello, how's it going?
It's going really good. Stock's up a lot with Micron. Do you think this is deserving of 11%?
I mean, yeah, I want to say this stock was beaten down a lot in the past few months. I think the stock before today was down almost 40% from its year-to-date high. There's a lot of growth opportunity here with Micron and the memory market. For those that are not familiar, the memory market right now is seeing a big boom in a lot of different industries, right? We're kind of getting that PC inventory cleared up. We're getting kind of the mobile phone industry getting cleared up. And AI chips need a lot and a lot and a lot of memory. So they're definitely getting a nice amount of tailwinds from all ends.
So when you say memory storage is ramping up in terms of that broader market, can you explain to us from a semiconductor perspective why memory storage is so important? And if Nvidia starts like expanding even more than they're expanding right now, that is a tailwind. Why is that a tailwind for Micron?
So right now, memory is used in AI chips to help with the more in theory, the more memory you have available per chip, the faster you're going to be able to either train or you do inference on your LLMs. And that's like a very top level overview of it, right? So the more memory you have, the easier and faster and less latency you might have when training LLMs. So that's why when it comes to AI chips, you need a lot of memory. And this kind of technology is evolving on almost a yearly basis now, on almost a 2-year basis. Right now, the AI chip market is making the memory market evolve at such a fast, rapid pace. We had HBM3, now we have HBM3E, and future generations is going to be things like HBM4 and so on and so forth. So the evolution of AI is pushing AI chips to need more. The other thing is now when we enter into the consumer space, AI is being added into phones, into laptops and everything. I mean, Apple has their Apple Intelligence coming to their phone, and those are going to be run locally. When it's run locally, you're going to need a nice amount of memory solution within your phone. I mean, for example, the new Google Pixel phone, their Google Pixel 8, I believe standard was about 8 gigs of memory. Now their Google 9 is 12 gigs of memory. So you're kind of seeing that increasement of memory per consumer device. So in the end, you're going to continue to see that with phones, with tablets, with watches, and the list goes on and on.
So these, I want to get your thoughts on the Meta stuff that they introduced today. But does Micron play a role in Meta in VR glasses in general going viral?
I mean, in any memory is used in every component, every single component that you have that's technology. There's both a DRAM and a NAND type memory, one that's active when the device is on, and one that's active no matter what, that kind of does that storage. So all that is memory is used in all types of components that you have right now. And there's only 3 main players in that. There's Micron, there's Samsung, and then there's SK Hynix.
So one of the reasons Micron is probably not like a $300-400 billion company, only a $110 billion company, is because there's competition in memory storage, correct?
Yes. Yes. So the memory market compared to most of the semiconductor market is seen as the more commodity play out of all of them. And the reason with commodity, one of the craziest thing is when you have too much inventory, you start to go with some crazy pricing wars. And that's what tends to happen with Micron a lot more than with the memory market, a lot more than maybe some of the other spaces, because the other spaces might have a little bit stronger moats against them. I think I want to say now is with HBM, which is this kind of advanced memory that's used on AI chips, it might be changing that level of commodity a bit. So it's kind of reducing that risk a little bit, but it's still there in my opinion.
Here's a good question by Doug. Can more memory result in training training require less power because they get more done at once? So is there less energy because you have more memory during the training process?
In theory, yes. But I mean, for this memory to be done, you need HBM is like a lot of memory stacked on top of each other.
Right.
And the more, just like playing, what's that game? Jenga? The one that you keep, the more you stack, the harder the game is, right? If you only had 4 rows of stacking, it's pretty easy to kind of set that up. But if you're building like something super high, it becomes a lot harder. And when it becomes a lot harder, you're losing out on yields, you're losing out on a lot of different efficiencies. So there's a lot of ways that has to be fixed before we can even think of something like that. But in theory, yes.
Okay, so we got Micron right here up
12%.
12%, yeah. Dude, that is a hell of a move. So congrats to anyone who has shares and if you got options on this. I mean, and as you mentioned at the beginning, the stock was down 40%. I mean, if any good piece of news, maybe we would have seen some momentum. Jose's YouTube is in the chat. Please make sure to follow him as well. Jose, your boy Jensen decided he's not going to be selling anymore. I think it's an article headline. I don't even know if it's true. Is that enough to get this bad boy up $80 billion in less than 24 hours?
I mean, in the last 24 hours, we've heard a lot of great news about Nvidia. I mean, first, obviously, with Jensen not done selling. And for those that are not familiar, he had a selling plan. And as a big insider, when you have the selling plan, you actually have to present it to kind of like the SEC and all these other financial figures that this is the plan. So there's always been this bearish case that, hey, look, Nvidia CEO is selling. That's an automatic bearish flag. To also put in perspective, I think he sold less than 1% of his equity.
It's 0.3%, I believe.
Yeah, so I think he sold less than $1 billion of shares, and he still owns over $100 billion of shares. So it was almost nothing. I mean, you got to give this guy a break and let him get some rewards for doing such amazing things. So that's the first thing. And I think that's bullish within itself because you don't have that bearish case anymore. But we did see OpenAI and the White House recently kind of talked, and OpenAI mentions that they believe the United States should build 5 gigawatt data centers. To kind of put that in perspective, we still don't even have a 1 gigawatt data center. Oracle right now still only is building an 800 megawatt. Later this year, they want to build a 1 gigawatt, but we're still nowhere near in the 5 gigawatts. And an 800 megawatt system is acres and acres of NVIDIA GPUs. Can we imagine what a 5 gigawatt system data center would have in forms of acres and acres and acres of GPUs? Wow. And also, OpenAI didn't mention just one. They believe that we should have a lot in various states. So it's multiple 5 gigawatts. And then we also had that great news from Microsoft that they partner up with, I forget the company name.
Constellation Energy. Yeah.
Constellation Energy, where they're opening back up a nuclear plant, right? I believe in Pennsylvania. So they're going to be getting that nuclear power, which is needed for these types of huge data center solutions. So I think that right there just showcases how we're still very, very much in the early innings of AI chips. So I think that's probably one of the biggest reasons the stock is up, not necessarily Jensen itself.
Dude, that is incredible. I never thought of it like that. So you're saying 800 megawatt data centers are acres. 5 gigawatts would be a lot more acres. And all of that is just filled with Jensen's GPUs.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's going to be a mixture here of NVIDIA GPUs, of AMD GPUs, and obviously all these big tech players are creating their own GPUs or AI accelerators. But I want to say, if these are expected to be built within the next 5 years, there's not going to be any true competition to NVIDIA at that time. And I would gladly bet that at least 75% of those 5 gigawatts will be filled with just NVIDIA GPUs. The other 25% can be fought on with AMD, with ASIC Solutions, with Marvell and Broadcom. But I mean, 5 gigawatts, like I mentioned, we're not even at 1 gigawatt. So even if they're losing market share, they're gaining a big, big market overall.
Right. Okay, Jose, I have a very important question for you next. We because you understood about 800 megawatts and 5 gigawatts, we need 1.21 gigawatts to go back to the future, right?
Is that what we need? But we need to put it all in one in that car. I don't know if we'll be able
I am
to do
so
that.
happy I watched that damn movie because I actually get it feels so nice to be included. You know, we talk about diversity, equity, inclusion. I feel so included because I actually know what the hell I'm talking about here. So that's fun. Okay. Intel. What do you think happens? Do you think they get an equity investment? You think Qualcomm buys them out, or do you think they can just end up splitting up this foundry business and recovering?
I don't think any big player can buy them. If I was to guess someone would buy them, I don't think it would be a public company. Completely off field, if I was to guess anybody buying Intel would be OpenAI. The reason I would say OpenAI is because back in January or February, we heard that Sam Altman was raising $7 trillion to have manufacturing assets to buy chip designers. And Intel, while it's doing it poorly, all that, it has everything packed together. So if there was anyone that I would think would ever buy Intel, it would be OpenAI. Any public company like Qualcomm or Broadcom, I heard also were rumored, I don't think would be the case, as this company has too much and it would be too hard to synchronize it with any of their businesses. It would pretty much make no sense, in my opinion.
Are you bullish at 23 versus 18? A little bit?
I mean, I don't know if I say bullish. I like to look at the market in a numbers game, the probability of something happening. I think right now there is some probability that this stock can do well if it continues to do well in the manufacturing push. I mean, right now, it has a lot in its good side. It has the AI market is growing, so they'll be able to do AI chip manufacturing. They have customers already announced, which was Amazon and Microsoft. They also have a huge backing in the United States. And me personally, coming from the defense market as an engineer, I 100% believe that the country that leads in the AI market is going to be the superpower. So I'm hoping it's the USA, right? So for me, I want Intel, which sucks. This is now my outside investing mindset. I would want Intel to succeed because I know it would be a great thing for the United States. And right now, the government is definitely kind of helping it out. And I think they also know that whoever deals or wins the AI market is pretty much the superpower from here on out.
I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. And obviously, the American government has a increased incentive to start building our own chips. The TSM $7.5 billion news, was that real? Was that important news, or we kind of knew that was happening?
Not sure which one was that. Was that they got CHIPS Act money from the government? Was that it?
Arizona yesterday?
Yeah. I think we already knew that was going to happen. I mean, TSMC building here in the United States is also great news. I really do enjoy that the semiconductor market, not only the design but the manufacturing, is coming back in land. I think it's great news overall.
Okay, last question for you, Jose. First of all, thank you again for joining the show. If you guys are not following Jose on Twitter, please make sure to follow him on Twitter. His YouTube also will be in the description. OpenAI is trying to raise at 150 billion. Me and the chat have been trying to figure out over the past couple of weeks, like, how do you make sense of OpenAI at 150 billion? How do you make sense of it? Do you think they're just going to be one of the $1 trillion AI companies and you got to just pay up whatever you got to pay up?
I think right now in the AI market, the AI market is very expensive. To have a foundational model or to train the next foundational model, we heard it from Oracle's earnings, you need at least $100 billion, right? So, I mean, if that's the case, if you need $100 billion to train a foundational model and you can get OpenAI for $150 billion with already a lot of talent, then it doesn't seem that expensive when you kind of correlate that. I think there's only going to be a handful of players in this top AI space. We're going to have Microsoft, Google, Microsoft with OpenAI, Google, Meta platforms, and I can't Anthropic. I don't know. I don't think anybody else I can think
But
of.
the fact that you can't name them kind of shows it's a winner take all, right?
Yeah. So it's going to be one of those four players, and one of those four players, whoever, if we get it within the next few years, really develops AGI, a $100 billion market is not going to seem crazy, or valuation is going to seem crazy, because it'll probably hit over trillions of dollars if AGI is truly as crazy as it seems. Now, that's the big risk, right? It seems like you're betting all on that AI horse, and then we have all the technology that we need to make AGI possible. So if that's the case, I think these big tech players know that it's going to be a winner take all market.
Okay. Final question for you. Meta, these glasses, your boy Jensen wearing them in the hype video. You like it? You think there's momentum here?
I wouldn't bet against Zuck. I mean, Zuck, everybody hated him in 2020 when he changed, or 2021, whenever it was, when he changed to the Meta platform's name. Now I think everybody's finally seeing the investments of AI infrastructure and AI data centers. That's something he hasn't moved away from. So you don't bet against a revolutionary leader. Like, you don't bet against Jensen, you wouldn't bet against Elon, you wouldn't bet against Zuck. And right now, it seems like all those three are playing the great game in this AI market.
I love it. Awesome. Jose's YouTube. Thank you, Jose, for joining. We'll get you on next week. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And thank you, Jose. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
See you next time. Bye. Speaking of Meta, we got Meta's chief product officer on CNBC. Let's see what he has to say about these glasses.
For being with us here today. You've been with Facebook since the very beginning, the very early days. And today we just saw the unveiling of the most futuristic technology Meta has ever unveiled. These new Orion augmented reality glasses. They're lightweight, but there's no date or price tag on them, no sense of when they'll launch. Why are you investing so much in this technology, and how will it eventually tie into your business?
Yeah, so today we announced a prototype of Orion. We wanted to show the demo to people, just to show what we've been working on. It's the most advanced pair of glasses ever made. It's lightweight. It's got a really powerful computing in it. You can see through it, so you can make eye contact, but they project a holographic display so that you can summon a screen, or you can look at your messages, you can watch video, you can have a video chat with somebody. We've been investing for this for a long time just because we are asking the question sort of what comes after the smartphone and what happens in a world where you're not sort of constantly checking a phone in order to understand how to interact with other people or to check whatever it is you're looking at. So this is a major leap forward for technology. It's a big step forward for our sort of goal to help define the next generation of computing. And it was the most, I'd say, premium thing we showcased today.
Yeah, it was really fascinating to see. What I'm curious though, and I see you're holding a pair of the Meta Ray-Ban glasses. These are AI glasses, right? You can ask them questions, they can give you answers or information or help you set reminders. When will we see those augmented reality features maybe incorporated into something like this? I'm trying to understand what the business potential is here. Are you going to be selling this type of AR capability for $1,000, or will it eventually in 2 years be $300?
Yeah, so these things are doing pretty well right now in the market. You can buy them in just about any Ray-Ban store. You can talk to them. You can ask questions about what's happening in front of you. You can ask it to play music. You can make calls with it. They've been very popular.
You can't tell us how many you've sold.
We're not announcing that today, but we did announce a new model today. So we're starting to be available in more styles and ranges. These look good. They're comfortable.
Okay, cool. So that interview is not giving us too much more information than anything Zucks said. But yeah, you got the Meta glasses, and they're definitely not going to give us a price target on when those release. They're probably not going to be releasing at least for the next year or so. This news right here that Bsov put in the chat, this is officially confirmed by Reuters. OpenAI is planning to no longer be a nonprofit. I think we know why the CTO left today. ChatGPT maker OpenAI is working on a plan to restructure its core business into a for-profit benefit corporation that will no longer be controlled by its nonprofit board. That means Sam Altman, who has historically said many, many times, hey, I don't want to get equity because it will, let's just say, misconstrue my incentives in building safe artificial intelligence, because when you have trillions of dollars staring at you, yeah, you might compromise safety at that point for money. We're all human at the end of the day. It looks like if Reuters is right, which to be fair, it's a Reuters report. Reuters gets things wrong a lot of times. Then OpenAI is officially going to be a for-profit company, which means theoretically it could go public one day. And I'm pretty sure the people investing at $150 billion want it to go public because it's not going to be a $1 trillion startup. Like yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? It has to go public at one point. That kind of like that it has to go public, right? Like there's no dude. That just hit me. That just hit me hard. Like, yeah, why would OpenAI raise at $150 billion to one day not go public? There's no way. Like, eventually shareholders need liquidity, and to go public, you need to not be a nonprofit. So there you go. Boom. It looks like that's what's happening right now. This is pretty incredible, dude. Maybe this explains why we had Ilya and now Mira today leave, co-founder and the CTO. Maybe it's literally because of this idea that they did not want to work for a for-profit company. Remember, these two people were there in 2015 when Elon gave the original $40 million to fund it. And the mission was always to make safe intelligence, not this like $1 trillion startup. The OpenAI nonprofit will continue to exist and own a minority stake in the for-profit company. What do we think? What do we think about this? Closed AI. Oh my God. Closed AI. It looks like Elon was right, dude. It looks like Elon was right. I mean, if I was Elon, I'd be pretty pissed. I give you guys 40 million to be a hedge against Google, and then you go public, or you basically, turn into a profitable company, and you have the same perverse incentives that Google has, which is to make money. Now, granted, the caveat there, we got to do the caveat. The nuance here is that can a company become as powerful as OpenAI, or better yet, build AGI if they aren't incentivized by profits? Because the only way you're going to get the funding to be able to get to AGI, the compute, the LLMs, the GPUs, the cloud workloads, is if you have investors, and investors expect a return, right? Microsoft's not doing it because they're happy that you're solving intelligence. Like they need a return, because a lot of you guys that own Microsoft stock, you're not going to own it if the stock doesn't go up. So I think there is some nuance here to being a nonprofit, but nonetheless, if you're switching into a for-profit company, you kind of got to own it and not have this sort of mirage of this idea that you're the safe guys who are trying to stop the world from, bad things happening in the context of AI. This is interesting. Sam says, sell out, but capitalism at its greatest, let them do what they want to do. If you're not a fan, it's time to leave the country because this is the foundation of capitalism. Sad but true. Yeah, I'm less upset about going from a nonprofit to profit. In fact, I just laid out the case for why being a for-profit company matters. It's more so about the way this is happening and the fact that key leadership is leaving based on this idea. And maybe that's what has to happen. Maybe you got to get rid of the CTO and the co-founder if they don't like the for-profit model. Because maybe Sam Altman's thinking, hey, like, I'm building AGI, whether you guys are going to be here or not, and we have to be a public company one day. So if you want to leave now, then get the hell out. I would imagine that's how some of those conversations might be going down. But there you go. OpenAI now looking to become a for-profitable company. Well, now it's up to XAI and Gemini to compete with it. But I imagine XAI is going to be more of the hedge against some of the issues Elon thinks exists with how OpenAI is thinking of enabling people to use AI in different ways. I mean, key example here, I tried to make a meme today and ChatGPT didn't let me. I said, hey, can I have a picture of Zucks eating an apple? Because I wanted to tweet it. And they were like, no. What did they say? They said some shit. They said it's against our policy. They said, I was unable to generate the image you requested due to content policy restrictions. Grok did it for me. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know, but that is a difference. That is a fundamental difference between XAI and GPT. And maybe if Sam Altman wants to generate more money, he's going to get rid of these restrictions. Maybe not. I guess we're going to see how this ends up playing out and where it goes. Let's listen to Tom Lee. We want to get his updates on what's going on in the world of stocks. So we got through Micron earnings. If you are just joining, Micron absolutely crushed. They're up 13.4%. Look at that. If you own shares or options, congratulations, Micron. Hell of a day. It's taking Nvda up 1.3%. It took Intel up 1%. Palantir's down a little bit after hours. Micron 13.4. Tesla's down a little bit after hours after ending the day at 257. Dell is up 1.2%. Rocket Lab up another 1/3% after hours. Pretty incredible day for the semis along with Rocket Lab. Micron right there up 13.54%. All right, here's Tom Lee. Let's get his take on what's going on in the markets, and then we'll keep going from there.
How much more can stocks rise? Let's ask Tom Lee. He's FundStrat's head of research and CNBC contributor, live with us once again at Post 9. Nice to see you.
Great to see you, Scott.
Since the Fed did their jumbo cut, the market really hasn't done all that much except for one day last Thursday. Why?
Well, I think the Fed unleashed us on an easing cycle, and that's going to be positive. We know it's actually historically positive 3 months, 6 months out. But what stocks do in the next month is a bit of a coin flip. And I think that's what we're seeing because there's some repositioning that took place. And also we're now thinking about the 40 days into the election.
So does the fact that the election is but 40 days away sort of ruin the perfect scenario for stocks to get that post-Fed bump?
I think it delays it just because, in the conferences that I've been speaking at and seeing wealth managers and family offices, a lot don't want to commit capital until after Election Day. And I don't think it matters who wins. It's just they want to get that event behind them.
Oh, so you think we're going to have sort of a dash to the finish after Election Day is out of the way?
Yeah, and that's pretty typical. In fact, in election years, the November, December rallies are pretty tremendous. And in fact, when markets are up more than 10% in the first half, you also get big rallies November, December, sort of choppy through September.
You think investors are sold on the idea that this economy is going to make it? It's going to make it through. The Fed's going to pull this off. Is any of what we've witnessed since Fed Day doubts about the bigger picture?
So far, so good. This Friday, we get core PCE, and hopefully that confirms inflation is no longer on the front burner. But I'd say one thing I've noticed is that the number of investors and professional money managers that think we're already in a recession is very high. And so I think the evidence just has to be better than expected. And I think those views shift back to soft landing.
When we've seen, recently targets for the S&P, Brian Belsky, I keep bringing him up because he's the most recent to raise his target up to the highest now on the street. I've asked you about, the market lately. You haven't sounded like you'd be raising your own target to a degree like that, would you?
I think there is a lot of upside in the foreseeable future. Let's say 3-6 months out. But for someone to tactically say, we need to pin a 6,000 target and then put money to work today, I think it's harder to make that case because valuations aren't on the cheaper end, and we've already had a fairly sizable move. So I'm not saying I'm like bearish right now, but to me, I'd have a lot more confidence saying 3-6 months out, things are attractive, especially things went like margin debt, right? It actually decreased in August, meaning investors have been deleveraging.
Mhm.
It hasn't gone anywhere for the last 4 months at a time when markets are rising.
I guess my point would be, it would have been better articulated to just say, you don't sound as bullish as you usually are. Is that fair?
Yes, I'm bullish into year end, but I'm a little less confident about how markets behave into election day. And not that I think we're going to have a huge drawdown. If we do have a big drawdown, I'd be buying that dip. But I also don't think we can make new highs and then see the market blast off after election day. So I'd rather sort of say things look a lot better after election day.
Can we make new highs if tech doesn't resume its leadership role in anywhere close to the degree that it had?
As long as tech is a market perform. If tech actually declines, that's going to be hard for the rest of the S&P 500 to compensate. But what we've seen so far, including days like Nvda and Tesla recently, is that tech is actually holding its own, but other stocks are starting to show catalysts and signs of life.
Yeah. What about the broadening trade? I mean, look, you look at the Russell, your big call, of course, week to date's down more than 1%. Really hasn't done much at all. I kept hearing, hey, you got to wait till the Fed cuts. Then you go into the Russell. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, Russell had a big week last week. It's some profit taking now, but I think that there's, this is what bottoms look like. I don't think bottoms are straight up. I know in 2021, energy was bottoming, and it was also very choppy, but eventually made not only new highs, but then basically had a blistering gain in 2020 in the year following. So I think that's a multi-year start for the Russell. It feels choppy, but we're still near all-time highs, and there's a big fundamental case to own small caps.
Some have made the case that there are a lot of areas of the market that are overcrowded at this point. So many different sectors have gone up a bunch. You look at industrials and utilities and other things that have traded near or at highs. Therefore, they find better value in bonds. What do you think?
I think a bond investor is buying a bond for a different reason than buying an equity. Because an equity gives you not only inflation protection and benefit from falling yields, but also capital appreciation and positive surprise. Bonds rarely give you positive surprise. I think a bond investor someone should have some income with some capital upside there, but there are so many good opportunities. And, the fact that China has started to actually perform better and potentially broken out, that's again a breadth signal, because that's been a big drag for the last few years.
Oh, how about that? Do you feel like the move that happened in China this week's a game changer on how we should view what, the potential turn in their economy means for the overall markets? I mean, we've seen certain stocks get a nice boost, some of the luxury goods companies, right? LVMH, Estee Lauder, et cetera.
And the gaming stocks.
What about in the bigger picture?
It's hard to tell what's a trading rally versus a bottom for China. I spent some time talking to Mark Newton, our technical strategist. He thinks this is a bona fide breakout, and it is coming on the heels of not only stimulus, but in the face of unrelenting bad news for China. So to me, a rally on bad news is a sign that maybe the worst is already priced into China, and that means it could rally for a while.
All right, let's bring in Kevin Gordon now. Charles Schwab and Max Kettner of HSBC Global Research. Good to have you both with us. Kevin, you've heard Tom state.
Okay, so interesting things right there from Tom Lee. Again, he doesn't sound super, super bullish on the market. And I think that's because, remember, early September, he came on CNBC and said, hey, expect 7 to 10% downside over the next 8 weeks before the election. He looked like he was right in the first week of September. I think we fell 4% that week. We were halfway to his target. And then we just reversed. So I think Tom is still a little scared that we would make all-time highs before the election, given how volatile the election is. But after the election, and it's not just him, I listened to a lot of analysts today that historically, any type of election rally happens after the election. That is such a big event in terms of who becomes elected. Not really just based on like whose policies influence the economy, but just like getting that event over with. that it needs to happen before you can move on. So it seems like Tom's saying, hey, you can still expect some pain in October. Well, once that's done, and the Fed continues to cut, and PCE on Friday, so in 2 days, that's going to be a very important one. If that one continues to come down, it just shows that they made the right decision with 50 bips, and we're probably going to get another 50 bips as well. Micron right here up 13%, continuing to gain some momentum. Rocket Lab still up about 1/3% after hours. Apple down a little bit. Meta up a little bit after hours. Nvda up almost 1% after hours, 124.50. So that Micron earnings was really bullish for the semis, and we're starting to see some more of that momentum. Nimrod, thank you for the super chat. Great to find a balanced, in-depth commentary in a genre full of hyper crypto bulls or hungry bears. Thank you for the 349.9 things you sent. I have no idea what currency that is. Anyone in the chat can tell me what currency? I have no idea what currency. That's a new one. I don't think I've ever seen that before. But thank you for that super chat. Really appreciate it as well. And happy you are enjoying the show. Okay, cool. So that's what we had from Tom Lee. Let's get the professor's perspective on what's happening in regards to valuation. So Tom Lee is bullish, but he thinks, hey, it might take some time for us to gain some momentum after the election. Here's what the professor had to say, Ashwath, and how he's thinking about valuation. We'll get also his thoughts on Nvda, and if he is still thinking Nvda makes sense right here at this valuation, or if it does not.
Joining me now to help navigate the tech story with earnings just weeks away now, the Dean of Valuations, Ashwath at NYU's Stern School of Business. Good to see you again. Welcome back.
Hi, Scott. Glad to be back.
When you look at the multiples of the Mag 7, what do you see today?
I see the fact that these are the companies everybody wants to flock to. But in the last few months, we've had reminders with each of these companies about their weakest links. With Nvidia, it was around the earnings announcement, which is you saw how high expectations have been set, and what looked like a good earnings report turned out to be a disappointment. With Apple, we've lived from upgrade to upgrade now, 16 upgrades, and I don't know why we're surprised. One upgrade measures up to expectation, the next one doesn't. With Google, we're still waiting for the next big business. They still make so much of their money from the search box. So much as these companies have been winners, they also have weak spots. And I think in the last few months, you see those weak spots sometimes highlighted, which explains why on any given day, 2 of them are up and 2 of them are down. It's the nature of the beast.
But are you suggesting that, let's talk specifically Nvidia, Apple, Alphabet, are you saying they're overvalued currently?
I think that, rather than overvalued or undervalued, let's talk about investing odds. If investing is a game of odds, with Nvidia, the odds are against you because of how high a price you're paying. With Apple, the odds might be even odds. With Alphabet and Meta, I think the odds are still with you because to the extent that these companies can pull off something outside their core businesses, you're going to get the bonus from that. So rather than think undervalued or overvalued, I think in terms of investing odds, and in terms of investing odds, I think the worst odds are with Nvidia. The best odds might be with the companies that have, at that moment at least.
Basically, he's saying Mag 7 stretched out. You need to broaden the rally, and the risk to reward is not that attractive right here at 125 or 230 for Apple.
Are the companies that are not in the favored group.
It's really interesting that you suggest the worst odds are with Nvidia, just given what we've heard even.
As an investor, as a trader, I reverse the whole thing because it's all about momentum. It's got nothing to do with fundamentals. It's got nothing to do with, what the business looks like. Nvidia is the perfect momentum play in either direction. If you're a trader, I can see why Nvidia is going to be where you're going. But as an investor, I think the worst odds are with Nvidia.
Well, but I want to address it as an investment to make because at 34 times it's cheaper than it has been for certain. Secondly, we've heard from Jensen Huang recently, within even the last couple of weeks about the great demand that the company continues to see. They have, by all accounts, what many would suggest to be not just a first mover advantage, but in fact a moat because of their installed base, much like we talk about Apple having. So how does that all factor in, though?
Let me concede all of those. It's an amazing company going after a big market that it's going to dominate because it has immense moats. But that would mean that you would need $1 trillion in revenues and 70% margins to be delivered 10 years from now. Reverse engineering from the $3 trillion market cap. So even if you took every word that Jensen Huang takes as the truth and you built it in, I still have a tough time getting to 3 trillion. I mean, this is a company that, if you look at the current numbers, has to have immense growth and maintain 70% operating margins to deliver what you paid already upfront as a price. That's what I mean about investing odds being, against you.
I wonder what he would think about Palantir. We got to find out his thoughts on Palantir, dude. If he thinks Nvidia is overvalued, I really wonder what he thinks about Palantir.
You price this company to be the most amazing company of all time. Where's the upside left? If it's just amazing rather than the most amazing company, that's a disappointment. So I think this is something you're going to see the back and forth on in terms of expectations, but the expectations at some point have to get reset so the company can actually deliver on those numbers.
Did you sell any of your own shares?
I sold half, and not to the extent that I did it a year ago. It might be due for another half to be sold at some point in time. But the last time I valued it was right after the earnings report. So least overvalued it looked since the AI boom started.
Wait, he just said he bought after the earnings report? So that means he bought at what, like 105, 109-ish that day? That is so interesting. So he's saying he sold half last year before the crazy run in 2024. He bought after the earnings. It was the least overvalued. So he's admitting it was overvalued after earnings, but it was the least overvalued. But at 125, he's saying it's ridiculously overvalued, even though he bought at 109. I don't know. That sounds a little interesting.
So in a sense, if I were going to sell it 3 months ago, 4 months ago, when it hit 136, it would have been the time to do it. So I'm watching the price, and if it triggers enough of an overvaluation, then perhaps it's time to get rid of another half of whatever half I've left. So that's something I'm open to doing.
Okay, interesting. We'll have a conversation again about that, but I want to turn ours now to Nike, because I know it's been on your mind. They obviously had the leadership.
Okay, I'm curious what he thinks about Nike. He thinks Nvidia's overvalued. Let's see what he thinks about Nike.
Change. You don't own the stock, is that right?
No.
Okay, so how are you thinking about it? Because it's far from what some would suggest. I've heard it from many investors on my programs. They certainly don't say it's cheap.
No, it's not cheap. I think in a sense, the reason I'm focused on Nike is part of a broader question, which is you see some really well-known brand names, companies that you've taken for granted as companies that are going to sustain their brand name forever. I mean, and this is especially in the apparel footwear business. Lululemon is going through the same troubles. Nike is going through troubles. And at some point, the question you got to ask is, has the business changed in a fundamental way to put these brand names, which have historically held on to their value, at risk? And I do think it has. I think with fast fashion on one hand and fad brand names that have come in, especially among the younger people, taking away the advantage. I think big brand name companies have aging consumers, and as those consumers age out, you're going to see more examples like Nike play out. They're going to look cheap, and you're going to buy them saying they're going to return to their glory, and then you're going to say, what happened? So my interest in Nike is more part of a broader question: is what's happening to the value of brand names across the board, and why are they under assault? Not just in consumer products, but in beverages and other businesses where historically they've held on to their value.
That's a fair point. By the way, this guy he's bullish on Tesla. He has a YouTube channel if you look him up, and he actually he thinks Tesla is a great company. I think he was buying it around 180. Some of my friends who are fans of him, who like really follow him deeply, they started getting into Tesla more because of him. And I think they would have said Tesla is historically overvalued if you kind of look at it from the usual valuation perspective. But he thinks there's a lot of sums of the parts to the business that make Tesla very attractive. So although he's a little bearish on Nvidia, and he was an early Nvidia investor, so I think he's kind of just being a little bit more skeptical, he is bullish on Tesla. And I think what he said about Nike makes a ton of sense. I mean, a lot of these brands had, clients that are now aging out from the glory days of their spending power on consumer items like Nike, and their kids may not be feeling that same brand excitement around Nike. That's basically my thesis with Disney. Like a lot of people that have kids right now, I don't know if your kids are going to grow up thinking Mickey Mouse is like the coolest character in the world, right? You might think Coco Melon is instead. And so that might be a long-term headwind for a lot of these older brands that we're seeing right now. All right, let's see what else we got in the markets, and then we'll end it out. The Micron call is at 5:30. I will not be streaming that call, but you could go to Jose's channel. I believe Jose will be streaming it. I'll put the link again right here in the chat and in the description. You can check him out. And we'll see what Micron has to say. But overall, I mean, the execution seems to be pretty amazing. It's up almost 14% right now at 108, topped out at 109.25. Unless they mess up this call, I don't think this pump goes away. I mean, they would have to really say something that's bad for the call to get hit. But Street seems to like it. 108 market cap right now, 106 billion. Palantir down a little bit after hours, but still closed above 37, which is amazing. I think this is the third time or second time Palantir closes above 37, which is nice to see even after the Carp and Teal sales. Let me see if the SEC filings are updated, if we had any other insider sales today. We did not so far. Sometimes they get updated later in the day, but so far no other insider selling based on only based on what we had yesterday. Nothing else new today. Yeah, there's the link right there in the chat. There's the link in the chat to check out Jose. I think the call's live now. No, it's at 2:30 Eastern, if I'm not wrong. Oh no, it's live right now. You're right, 2:30. So is Jose live right now? Is he live? Oh no, he's not live. Okay, yeah. So, if you want to actually listen to the call, here's the link to the website. You can easily just get it from here and then log in if no one's streaming it right here. So that's the link right there. Cool. The big news, though, is this OpenAI stuff. That's the big news of the day. We talked about Meta. We had Jose talk about Intel, Jensen selling. We talked about Tom Lee's perspectives on the election. We talked about Micron. OpenAI, to me, is the biggest story of the day. That is just unbelievable that the CTO is out and that it looks like they are now going to become a for-profit company, which honestly, dude, I guess the news, it took the news today for me to realize that there's no way in hell they could raise at 150 billion without the expectation of going public one day. Like for the past 2 weeks, we've been talking about 150 billion. Is it justified? Just today, I'm realizing, wait a second, like they have to go public. They have to turn into an actual company, because who the hell is investing at 150 billion and expecting to get someone to buy their shares at a Series F funding of 900 billion? Like that stuff doesn't happen. Like you go public at some point because there's just so much liquidity that's needed for existing shareholders. And they're not investing unless they expect that liquidity one day into the future, even if it's a decade from now. So looks like Sam Altman will be a public CEO. It looks like he will be a public CEO, and maybe Mira and Ilya left because they did not want to be executives at a public company one day. Maybe that's what's happening right now. All right, folks. That is it. Can you make the pic full screen? Dude, you guys are simping over, yes, she's an attractive woman. I get it. But she stepped down from a $1 trillion eventual startup, which is one of the most important companies in AI. And no one wants to talk about that. We just want to talk about making the picture full screen. That is. Oh, by the way, you guys, I mean, here's another picture you can see full screen. This is the data driven, but this was her on the one of the interviews she did where I don't even know why she was crying, but she was crying about something. I don't know what she was crying about, but there you go. That's what we got with OpenAI. We'll see. This one's a big one, dude. This one is a big one. I guess we'll get some more updates on this soon. But that was the big news right here for today. All right, that's it for me. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'll be back tomorrow, 8:45 a.m. on the Market Open. I will be posting the Chris Camillo podcast in like an hour. It's already set to be uploaded. I was going to post it yesterday, but it took too long to export because of what do you call it? Because it was a long file. So it'll be out today in an hour for those that didn't catch it with all the chapters. And yeah, that's pretty much it for me today. All right. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for joining the Meta stream as well. We had an extra stream today. I'll be back tomorrow, 8:45 a.m. once again on the Market Open. Friday is going to be important. We got PCE. I'm probably going to go live earlier on Friday, probably at 8:20, because PCE is important. Not because it like matters that much in the grand scheme of things, but 50 bips needs to be justified. We had a really good CPI. If we get a really good PCE, especially because core on CPI was a little bit elevated, that will tell the Fed, hey, we're in the right direction. We should keep cutting, and maybe that'll be good for the overall market. All right. That's it for me. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow in the morning at 8:45 a.m. Bye, everyone.